Hi, hi, hi. Welcome to girl Jessica Mazzo, aka Jess the Empress online. All right, so I wanted to first just give credit where it's due. Background music is lo-fi from, let me pull it up on my phone. This is from Lo-Fi Girl, the label. And this particular album is 3 a.m. study session. And if you don't know what lo-fi is, I highly recommend that you jump on it if you like this type of music that you hear in the background. Super chill, super relaxing. I'm usually streaming it, not all day, but I am streaming it. Usually for my writing sessions and sometimes depending on the client as background music. Okay, so I wanted to first start off with that, but then hop into today's podcast episode. And this is for, obviously, those of you who are watching me on YouTube. I'm going to keep bringing in the podcast information to my YouTube channel. So it's just going to be me talking to you. There's no cards when I'm doing these types of topics. But if you don't want to see my face, then find the Magical Soul Healing podcast and you can hear everything that I'm going to say here. But if you're here, thank you for being here on my YouTube channel and please subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And share it. I would also appreciate that as well. So I'm going to kick this off by saying that doubt is a very normal human emotion. So we're all going to experience doubt at different times in our lives and to different degrees. There will be times when doubt is really minimal, but it's still there. And then there's times when doubt is like this huge wave of emotion that feels all encompassing. And nothing is right or wrong about these emotional experiences of doubt. It just tells us something about ourselves. It tells us something about our experience. And remember that doubt is temporary. So it's not telling us about our core self. It's not telling us that there's something wrong with us. It's just telling us that there's some other things that we really need to pay attention to within ourselves. And maybe within some of our thoughts and probably within some of our behaviors as well. So we're going to get into all that today in today's episode. So I just wanted to, kick it off by saying doubt is really normal. So if you find yourself in these moments of doubt, please, please, please normalize it. Don't be out here looking at yourself like there's something wrong with you. The way that you can normalize it, I'm going to give you some tips on that. But it comes up for a lot of reasons, and it typically comes up when we are about to change, especially when we're doing something we've never done before. Like when we try new things, doubt's going to be like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? Or are you sure you even can do this? Is this the right thing to do? And that is a safeguard. It's just a part of our brain. Like it's just the way that it is. If you have a brain, you're going to have doubt. So the next time that doubt shows up, here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself these questions. Okay, so the first question is, what part of you is doubt serving, right? There's this part of you that doubt is supporting, protecting, and that's like not a problem. That's never a problem. Now then, after you ask yourself that question, then ask yourself what's triggering the doubt. Is it a person actively in front of you saying that you can't do something, you shouldn't do something, kind of like, reinforcing that inner doubt? Is it a person from your past? But like when you really listen to that voice of doubt, it's them. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily anybody in front of you, but it could have been like a hater from a long time ago, but their voice is still like circulating in your mind, right? Is it a situation? Is it a combination of both people and situations? None of this is wrong. It's all something to just pay attention to. When you pay attention, you can create an action plan. And a proper action plan, an action plan that's actually going to do something. What's worse than creating an action plan having not looked at what it is that you're up against? it's so silly, right? But this is why the review is so important. This is why asking yourself these questions is so important. Third thing you're going to ask yourself is, do you need to feel more safe? Do you need to have more knowledge about something? Do you need to feel more prepared / ready for something? Do you need to feel more confident? Because doubt will kick in, obviously, when we're not feeling confident. Sometimes when we don't have this knowledge and we're about to go do something, but we're feeling a little bit insecure and doubtful, there might be something you need to learn in order to feel more supported. And that's the goal, right? And then safety. Safety is a huge thing. If you don't feel safe, it's going to be a lot harder to move with the doubt, to push through the doubt, than it is if you feel safe, right? So if you need to feel more safe, more knowledgeable, more prepared, and more confident, then that's part of your action plan, to do things that help you feel the way you need to, right? Doubt is an indicator that you might be lacking a little something that you can give yourself, okay? That's great. That's great news. All right, so a coffee sip for those of you off camera. I gotta get my coffee in. Pro tips. Okay, we're gonna get into it. I want to say the doubt, the question I ask, who is doubt serving? I'm gonna tell you who it's not serving. It's not serving the people you care about, and it's not serving the people that you're here to show up for. It's not serving any of them. Like, you have probably this idea in your mind about like who you want to be and who you want to impact. Doubt isn't serving any of them. Okay, like none of them at all, in any way, shape, or form. So remember that. Remember that when doubt decides to show up. And then, in recognizing this, you can switch your attention to your desired outcome. So there is a life that you live on the other side of doubt. Now, I want you to suspend all disbelief and imagine that you have already worked through it. You've done the work, you've created the action plan, you've taken the action steps, and you're like doubt-free for the time. You know, you're like, oh, I did it, woohoo! So what else would you be thinking about yourself? What else would you be feeling, right? What would you be doing? These are really important things to consider because, again, they're going to help you create that inner confidence and continue to disqualify the voice of doubt, okay? It's going to pop up. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's supposed to do. So if you know that it's there, you're not going to have this like, why are you here? And you're not going to fall into overanalyzing it either. You're the observer, and you're saying, oh, you're here for a reason. What's going on? Oh, yeah. I'm actually about to like do this thing I've never done before. Okay, well, I've studied enough. I feel like I've done the best I can with everything that I've got. And yeah, now it's time to go for it, right? That's an example of what that could look like. And probably not that quickly, but the better you get at taking a step back and observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment, the easier this process is going to be over time. Repetition creates mastery. So the good news is that every time doubt comes up, that is your opportunity to ask yourself the questions and then to remind yourself of these other things I'm going to get into. Because again, that's going to keep your mindset on track instead of getting derailed with the doubt and then with all the other things that come with doubt. So if things are hard, tell yourself that you can do hard things. If things are overwhelming, tell yourself that you can take it one step at a time and you don't need to rush. Acknowledge the discomfort about what you cannot control. You know, sometimes our doubt comes up when we have a lot of choices. And then we kind of feel like, oh no, I don't know which one to pick. I don't want to pick the wrong one. Acknowledge the perfectionism. These are two really powerful things. When you're acknowledging them, you're not saying that they're wrong and you're not saying you have to change them. You're just noticing that they're really loud. And you're like, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, you're here. And also, you begin to have a healthier relationship with the parts of you that are the old, perfectionism and that are wanting to control, And like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to control the outcome. Like, we all want more control than we have. And acknowledging that we don't have as much control as we want, it feels uncomfortable. But you bring safety to yourself when you acknowledge what is happening in your internal world. Like, if you're not checking in, you're just going to be walking around in that state of discomfort. And that state of discomfort is going to influence your mindset. And it also influences your behavior, giving you the outcome that's the least desired or not most desired, right? So even though you can't control the outcome, you can definitely control how you show up in the process, right? How you show up each step of the way. So acknowledge the discomfort around the control, acknowledge the discomfort around the perfectionism, and just acknowledge the internal struggle. It's okay to have this struggle. It's okay to have all of these choices and to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel like you might make a wrong choice. But can you permission yourself to learn? You know, can you permission yourself to try? Can you permission yourself to maybe accept that there's a potential failure? You have to want the best outcome more than you listen to the fear of failure, you know? You have to want one more than the other. So you have to keep your eye on the prize. So all you can do is your best. That's it. And when you also reframe this and that's what you are responsible for, it's much easier. It really is. I'm not saying it's like it feels better. Two different things. Two different things. It's not always feeling better, but internally the process is easier when you can affirm, you know what, but all I'm responsible for is like the best that I could do. It takes some of the pressure off, you know? All right, and then the last pro tip here, if there's risk involved, then remind yourself that you didn't come here to live small. You didn't do all the things that you did up to this point to not do the next step. You know what I mean? So have a backup plan, especially when a risky thing is involved. Doubt's going to kick in the most. Like I said at the beginning, it's because you're on the brink of something new. And that's when doubt tends to be the loudest. Also, when there's a lot of risk involved, doubt comes in as a protective factor. Remember that this is a very reptilian part of our brain, the doubt. It has kept us all safe collectively for a long time. We have to bring that part of our mind into this century, right? And be like, this doubt that I have, it's like actually not even legitimate. You know, like it's a perceived threat. It's not an actual threat. So having an objective viewpoint about what the stories are in your mind and a compassionate, open heart about your feelings is the key here. I want to branch off this concept for just a minute because there's some toxic motivation I see online about risk, having a backup plan, and going for what you want. This is my opinion, so you can take it or leave it. I see the idea that you shouldn't have a backup plan as toxic motivation, especially when people try to say that if you have a backup plan, it shows the universe that you're not serious, that you don't trust the universe to deliver your plan A. And that sounds really good in the moment. It sounds like it's motivating, but unfortunately, what I've seen so many times is that it sets people up to make a decision that they probably would make anyway, but they don't create a safety net. So here's my argument for that, what I believe is toxic motivation, okay? I'm going to argue that having a backup plan creates a stronger sense of security and safety in yourself because your worst case scenario is like your safety net, which is not the worst case scenario. You know what I mean? I'm also going to argue that having a backup plan shows flexibility and adaptability instead of this like all or nothing plan. And the other thing too is if the plan A, the only plan you have, if it fails, it is going to fuck your nervous system up. You're going to be put in a state of fight, flight, freeze. It's going to be much more difficult for you to de-escalate and surrender and to look at what other outcomes you can create because you're in a place of panic. Whereas if you have a plan B, C, D, and plan A, B, C don't work out and you're on plan D, you're like, well, this isn't the best, but like, I feel okay, right? Like you can breathe through the process. You can actively work through the disappointment and the frustration and all of that peacefully, as opposed to having to figure it out in all this stress and intensity. So I say make up the backup plans. I say that there's nothing wrong. And I've often seen clients and myself come up with really good backup plans. And it's something that they end up pulling from at a later point, especially if, plan A is the one that works out. There's still, again, it feels like having your own back with the backup plans. There's that reinforcing that you're not going to let anything bad happen to you, that you're going to do what you need to do for yourself and look out for yourself. That's what I get when you have backup plans. And I also think too, like having multiple avenues of success for yourself, it's like, it seems smarter, doesn't it? Doesn't it? To me, it seems so much smarter to have multiple areas where you could be successful, as opposed to just this like one or nothing. And I think that the one or nothing also, if it doesn't work out, reinforces self-doubt, because then it's like you only gave yourself the one option. And I feel like success and good outcomes and best case scenarios can show up in a lot of ways. And that's where we have to learn to be flexible. So you're responsible for your self-talk, okay? I can't do this for you. All you can do is look at the Pinterest board, save this episode, come back to it in those moments of doubt. But you are responsible for actually telling yourself the things that you need to hear. And so what is it that you want to really be telling yourself in these moments of doubt? So the first couple steps are the ones that we went over, where we look at what's actually triggering the doubt, and then we love ourselves, we think about things a little bit, and then we move into this other part of kicking the doubt to the curb through our self-talk, through shifting gears and deciding that doubt isn't actually the full story, because it's not. But you have to tell yourself that it's not the full story. I could tell you that, but I'm not with you 24/7. You're with yourself 24/7. So you got to make this a thing, an everyday thing, actively. So one of the best ways for you to hold yourself accountable and to get clear on all the bullshit that your brain is telling you is to write things down. Either write it down or show up on camera and record yourself or do a voice memo. It doesn't really matter, but the point of this is to get it out of your brain and to get it onto something where you're looking at it or hearing it. And the stories, you'll be able to see them and hear them and be like, wait a minute, those are so silly on paper. Those are so silly if I say them out loud. Hearing that back, it just sounds so ridiculous. And that's a moment of clarity that you can bring yourself, and it's free. You don't need any crazy tools for this. You need a pen and paper, a voice note, your camera. I guarantee you have all those things, So you can come back, the accountability comes in because you can come back to the piece of paper and you can look at the stories and you can say, oh my God, they're popping up again. And it's a no for me. I'm not entertaining these stories. Same thing with the video. You can hear yourself, you can look at posture, you can look at facial expressions, all of that can be observed. And you can say, whoa, I notice like when I'm telling myself that story, that doubt, I like kind of close down. You know, I don't have that lit up expression on my face like I do when I'm talking about other things. Like, well, holy shit, that's interesting. That's what's happening in your inner dialogue. Now you're just saying it out loud and actually seeing how that manifests in your physical body, right? Isn't that crazy? So you get to hold yourself accountable by listening, by reviewing, and then deciding what you want to do from there. I also feel like when you have it written down, voice note, video, there's a greater sense of compassion for that version of yourself. Because you're like, whoa, in that moment, she really believed that. You know, in that moment, she really felt that. And I have compassion for that version of me in that moment. And I feel like that's really, really powerful. To see yourself with compassion is very transformative. And so, lastly, it can spark motivation when you have a track record of this, because you'll look at things that you've overcome and it reinforces your capacity to do it again to a larger degree, right? Because we're typically upgrading all the time, adding things on, or doing new things, not necessarily adding on, doing new things. But if you've done new things once, you can do new things again. You know, it's just like that doubt's going to be there because that's what it does. That's what it does. It's no problem. So tips for making this the best experience, your writing experience, your self-reflective experience, do not edit as you go. Self-editing is going to be one of the biggest ways that you sabotage your authenticity and the connection to your truth. Who cares? It's a piece of paper that you're looking at. It's a video for just you. Who gives a shit? You're the only one who cares. And the care isn't care if you're judging. That's just judgment. You know, care is like getting curious and leaning in and saying, whoa, what is it that I could find here? Right? So write everything down or say it out loud. The doubts, the fears, the distortions. The other thing is to do your best to laugh at them and to remember that they are just stories in your head. The picture I want to present is from Harry Potter, okay? And if you haven't seen Harry Potter, I don't know what to tell you. Go watch Harry Potter. But there's a part in the movie and the book where there's this like ghostly thing called a boggart. And it takes shape of the thing that you fear. And everybody's in class and the boggart comes out of this wardrobe or whatever. And it's always transforming shape. But the students who are learning self-defense have to laugh at the boggart. Because if you laugh at it, then it's not that big of a deal. You learn to have a different relationship with the thing that you fear, even though it's uncomfortable. And if you watch that scene in the movie, there's some hesitation because it's a weird thing to do, right? Nobody's like walking up and defeating their boggart immediately. They get a little bit of reinforcement from their teacher. There's other people in the the crowd that are like, you could do it. And this is an important thing. This picture that I'm painting is what I want you to imagine yourself in relationship to your self-doubt with, is that it's a boggart. It's something that you can laugh at, that you don't have to take so seriously when it comes up. Because it's just a story. It's always going to transform because you're transforming. So it's going to match like where you are. You know what I mean? It's always going to give you a reason. It's always going to present doubt. It's always going to do it because that's just what doubt is. Doubt is doubt. It's going to continuously shapeshift and give you a reason to fall for it, to fear it, to like freak out about it. But if you can remember like, this is just what this is just what this does, it becomes, I don't necessarily know, like again, the process doesn't always get easier, but you definitely become more confident. And that's what I want for you, right? I want you to have inner confidence. I want you to be able to cut down the time that you spend entertaining doubt. I want you to be able to kick doubt out faster than letting it live fucking rent free in your head, in your house, in your heart, in your body. You know, that's what I want for you. So I really hope that this episode inspires you. I hope that you get some good juicy stuff out of it that you can apply to your life when doubt shows up. And just remember that it is an emotion designed to keep you safe, but doubt will always undermine your power. Doubt will always undermine your potential. And that's not doubt's fault. That's just the role that it plays. Click a little negative Nancy, okay? But look for evidence in your life for why you're strong. Look for evidence in your life for why you're courageous, and then follow through with action. And that's like the best way to move through doubt. So yeah, that concludes this episode. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll talk to you soon in the next one. Okay? Bye.